If you ask just about anybody in the world what the biggest cultural phenomenon is right now, they'd probably tell you a simple answer. It's Avengers. However, the Avengers have had such a grand and illustrious career and such a grand and illustrious run in comics that it's really difficult for a lot of people who are jumping into it to really kind of start with it. Because there's a bunch of tie-ins, there's a bunch of events, there's so many places where they can start. Well, today we're going to be talking about the different types of runs and the different types of places and events that you guys can jump on if you are just starting to get into the Avengers, and if you're somebody that just got out of seeing Endgame or you just got the Blu-ray or whatever and you're dying to get some of these comics. So, without further ado, let's do this. When you're first getting into the Avengers and you've had a real huge fascination with them after watching the Marvel films, there is no better place to start than the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet is huge. It's a massive event that incorporates every single Marvel character that you can think. Name a Marvel character and chances are they're probably in this. The book was first published in 1992 by Jim Starlin, and since then it is a cultural phenomenon and on everybody's must-read Avengers list. You see folks, Thanos has been able to assemble the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones, giving him basically the powers of a god. If you've seen the films, the Infinity Stones here are a bit different than the ones that you've seen in the Avengers movies. However, they are still very, very powerful and they are still something to not mess with. In fact, in the same fashion that Thanos wipes out half the universe in the movies, he wipes out half the universe in the comics. The big difference here being is that Thanos here is just doing it because he's in love with the living incarnation of death. Now, I've done some crazy stuff to be in a relationship, and I've had some really bad relationships in the past, but this is nuts. My second choice is going to be The Ultimates by Mark Millar. I love The Ultimates. The Ultimates is super fun. It's just big blockbustery comics. That's really what it is. Is blockbuster even a word? It's a word now. But that's really what it is at the end of the day. It's just a huge blockbuster popcorn film. You see, kids, back in the early 2000s when I was a young wee comic book collector, Marvel Comics decided to start a brand new universe because they were just coming out of bankruptcy and they wanted to have a fresh slate to play with characters. Thus, the Ultimate Universe was born. The whole premise of the Ultimate Universe was that our choices and the actions that the heroes and the villains do have consequences, that they have real life consequences. So for example, if a city block gets leveled in the Ultimate Universe, it stays leveled the entire time. Of course, they would later go on to break this rule, but still, it was a good fantasy while it lasted. However, the Ultimates was the kickoff book. It is the closest thing that you will get to the Avengers films in comic book form, mainly because of the fact that in the first Avengers film, directed by Joss Whedon, he pulled from that first run written by Mark Millar with art by Brian Hitch. At the beginning of the story, Nick Fury is assembling his own personal strike force, and he's calling it the Ultimates. Things go a little bit crazy though when they bring on Bruce Banner and he transforms into the Hulk and he loses all control. If you've ever wanted to see Captain America square off against the Hulk, this is the book to do it, and oh my god, is it an incredible fight. What I like the most about the Ultimates is that a lot of the characters in here are pretty damaged. And what I mean by that is that they've got their own issues going on in their private life. For example, Thor struggles with the fact that maybe he is, maybe he isn't a god. A lot of people are questioning that, and a lot of people think he's just kind of a homeless, crazy person. And it goes as far as making you, the reader, question if he's lying or if he's telling the truth. Overall, if you're looking for a place to start with the Avengers and you're a die-hard fan from the movies, I really recommend you check this out. Mainly because, like I already mentioned, they pull a lot of stuff from here and they use it in the films. Next up on my list is Civil War. Civil War was an event to end all events. It was huge, it was a blast in a lot of different ways, and it was controversial, and it changed the Marvel Universe. And I mean, it actually had lasting effects on the Marvel Universe, not something that just lasts a week and then they throw it out. Civil War was important, and it was, in a lot of ways, really awesome. The story kicks off with the New Mutants filming a reality TV show when, all of a sudden, Nitro literally goes nitro, and he ends up killing over 600 people. This makes the public turn on our heroes, and then what ends up happening? They pass the Superhuman Registration Act. The act basically demands all superheroes to register with the government, and they must unmask. Captain America being Captain America, he refuses. And Iron Man being Iron Man, he sides with the pro-registration. This was huge. I remember when this was coming out and they were putting out covers saying which side are you on, and all the crossover events. It was massive. You could not go into a comic book store when this first came out and not bump into a comic that was labeled Civil War. It was insane. Over the last few years though, Civil War has gotten kind of a bad rep. There are some fans in the comic book collecting fandom that really kind of look down on the event simply because they say it's too big, it was just annoying having to buy all these different tie-ins to get to the complete story, and it just delayed absolutely everything. And I understand that. However, Civil War, now that it's complete, it's really cool to look back on and read all these different comics and see what the world was like back then through this lens. The last one on my list is the Hickmans Avengers run. Now, for those of you out there that haven't read this run, it is massive. The run is divided in between two comics, New Avengers and his Avengers run, and they are fantastic. I personally like New Avengers more, but you kind of have to read them together in tandem to get the full story. In short, the run centers around the multiverse collapsing in on itself. Planets are crashing and universes are being destroyed. It's up to the Avengers to stop this crazy event and figure out how to do it. But along the way, will they end up sacrificing their morals to do so? Like Hickman's Fantastic Four, he goes big here. And every single Avenger that you can think of is in this book as well in some shape or form. It's great stuff. And like all Hickman books, he plays the long game. It's going to take a while, like I said, to get going, but the payoff is worth it. And oh man, is it really worth it. Especially when you start hitting the Infinity event where Hickman really hits his stride. Oh my gosh, it gets so good. There you have it, MCU fans. That is my list for the top books that I think you should pick up if you're just starting to get into the Avengers and you really love the films. Guys, thank you so much for checking out this channel. Let me know what your recommendations are down below in the comments section. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. That's also found in the description. And on top of that, you can find all the books that I mentioned here in the description with their Amazon links. If you buy them, I get a cut of the profit. It doesn't come out of your wallet, it comes out of Amazon's. Thank you so much once again, guys. I love you. Have a great week. Bye.